It's fine. We're going to get through this. We are brought to you by the Launchpad Media. Go to the launchpadmedia.com and check out some awesome podcasts like Arvin Vora, which is going to trigger some of you. I understand. It's okay. But Alex Merced is there. So yay, Alex. And also Johnny Rocket and us. You can go watch our videos. We are also anchor.fm/OzaRaptor. Don't worry, these links are going to be flying through the screen all night because I'm going to get bored of not talking once we get into this interview. We are also on the new website Parler. It's like Facebook, except buggy as shit right now and more free speech. So hopefully they fix the buggy as shit part, but also keep the free speech part. A lot of the info wars and whatnot that can't be anywhere else, and I hope we don't get kicked off for me saying that word. They're there, so go check them out. If you are watching this on YouTube, because that's a thing that happens now, our live streams are Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central on Facebook.com/D&D Liberty. You can come be part of the conversation. And starting soon, tonight we're going to do a post show on D&D Liberty, but soon that is going to go subscribers only. So either our subscribers or coming soon, there's going to be this awesome subscriber perk for the Launchpad Media. So you're going to want to keep an eye out for that. So yeah, that's everything. I think I'm old, man. Look at all this fucking gray. I am old as shit. Dre, the fuck's going on, dude?
What is up? Hey, everyone. Sorry, I'm trying to start my... Sorry. You know what? If you're not fucking it up, I'm going to be doing it. So whatever. It's got to be one of us. Welcome, Dan. Again, love to have you back.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here.
You're welcome. Everyone, in case you don't know, if you're an LP member and you're living under rock, Dan is running for president. And his headline, of course, is "We are not government property." So tonight, Dan wants to talk about his election, of course, he'll do if elected, and the war on cops, the legalization of shrooms. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm still sharing this also on my Facebook page, and I think the audio is getting funky, but yeah, it's awesome to be here. I'm glad to be on a show finally where everybody's drinking. So cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, you know what? I should do that. It's booze time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm a slacker.
So the last time I got to drink with Dan was in Iowa. Well, we were Zach, me, Dan, John. We were all there. It was a little crazy.
I'm glad I missed that.
Yeah.
Caleb was there too, but we don't talk about that little fuckboy.
Yeah, that was an awesome convention.
It was so fun.
Yeah, you guys, I think, well, I shouldn't say this live on air because all my friends in Texas are going to hear it, but
they are.
Yeah, no, so I'm not going to say anything about who put up a very competitive convention that some people in my other favorite state should work on competing with.
The Iowa folks do put on
I won't say that.
Good convention. It's the second one I've been to of theirs, and I had even more fun at the second one than I did at the first one. So
Dan, let's jump right into one of your.
Sorry, can I 1 second? I'm very sorry. John, you are already subscribed on Anchor. I should explain this better. If you are our subscriber on Anchor or our soon to come Subscribe Star, that is being subscribed to us. The Launchpad Media subscription service will be coming out, and we will have more details on that later.
Yeah,
and, Justin says you look naked, Dre.
Justin.
Hey, this is not night vision. Cut her some slack, yo. Dre.
Oh shit! I haven't looked at any of these. Anyway, okay.
So Dan, let's jump into one of your topics. Let's jump into potentially for me, the most controversial statement that you're kind of wanting to talk about tonight. The whole the war on cops.
All right.
A war on cops.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not asking for it because we're an anti-war party. I'm not asking for a war on cops.
Good.
But there is a war on cops. And I see a lot of these people who are really pissed off and they want to start this war, and I can't blame them, because every day I turn on Facebook or Twitter and I see one of these videos and they just keep getting worse. Like, you can't even say like, well, tell me what happened before the camera was turned on. Like, that stuff doesn't even work anymore, because these guys are just I watched this one the other day where he was like, yeah, I shot your friend. How's that feel? I could shoot any of you. And then the guy says, well, yeah, what about your friend, the cop who got shot? And then this cop who just like said, well, yeah, I shot your friend, says, oh, are you saying I might get shot? I'm going to arrest you. And then he arrests the guy. So like for doing like something where like he's not even the threat. So I can see how like people are really, really pissed off about this. And the idea here is that, like, I don't want a war on cops, because realistically, when push comes to shove, in the public, in the greater public opinion, anybody, even the good guy who resists a cop, looks like a bad guy in public opinion, which sucks. I mean, in Indiana, they had a court ruling that said, hey, if somebody breaks into your house, it doesn't matter what kind of costume they're wearing. If they break in illegally, you can shoot them and use deadly force to defend yourself. We see little victories like that every once in a while. But yeah, there are so many, and it's just the small things. I mean, think about it. You can be driving down the street without your seatbelt, and these cops will get on you. They'll get, if you're the wrong color, they'll get 3 or 4 cars to back them up. They'll treat you like a criminal. They'll treat you like shit. They'll search your car. They'll do all this stuff. And then when the cops are actually like killing people and acting like assholes, like clear, like just right out there, nothing's done. It's like, oh yeah, well, you're doing actual crimes, but we let that slide because you're part of the good guy team.
So how do we incentivize good cops to turn on bad cops? Because right now they aren't doing it enough. And when they do, they are scrutinized. Sometimes they're run out of their job, run out of town. It needs to be easier for them to come forward.
There's a few different ways. One, yes, absolutely, they need some sort of protection. But at the same time, we've seen that happen, and we've seen, the police, because they control generally who gets prosecuted and what crimes get investigated. They can go harass a person who's a good cop, who's doing their job and turning in bad cops, and the good cop gets chased out of town. They get threatened. They get all kinds of bad things happen, or they just get fired. What we need is yeah, maybe some sort of protection system, but at the same time, we need a civilian like oversight type thing. And right now what we have is, first you need the government to get involved, and you need the district attorney to say, okay, there's no way we can defend this. And that's basically how they look at it. Like, if we can just brush this under the rug, then we won't prosecute it. But if it's just like, it's like, sorry, man, I love you. You're a great cop. You brought me all these great cases. You lied on the stand so many times to get me a good conviction, but I just can't defend this. Then they'll prosecute this cop, and then they'll get fired, and they'll get like 2 months in prison or something stupid.
I mean, I feel like that's part of the reason why when you say the war on police, like I feel what you're reaching for, right? Like, I think I do, but I don't see this as a war on police. If we're invaded, if Argentina decides to fucking invade us and we fight back in self-defense, is that a war on Argentina? Fuck no, it's self-defense. And right. So that's kind of how I feel when people say there's a war on police. No, police have been waging war on citizens for my entire lifetime. We're finally defending ourselves.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's really unfortunate that we have to take this kind of perspective and framing, because the reality is, like, it's through so many years of indoctrination and just propaganda and everything else, like, people are conditioned to believe it's like we were talking before the show about what was it? Nobody's a libertarian until they hit like the extreme of communism. Right. It's the same thing. Like, I was a little anti-cop when I was like getting traffic tickets and everything, but then when I was wrongfully arrested twice by the same fucking cop for asking him questions, for exercising my right to free speech, then it's like, wait, this is wrong. I was against taxation until the IRS actually started digging through my bank account and fucking up my life. And I meet so many people who are like this. It's like until like you think, because that's the propaganda. They're there to protect you. They're there to keep you safe. Just dial 911. They'll come rushing to save your life if somebody breaks in your house, which isn't true. But even though you know it's not true, you still kind of have a feeling of like, yeah, but that's what they're there for. Maybe they're not Superman, but they're trying. But then once you get like, oh shit, well, this cop was like obviously racist and shot my fucking brother, then it's like, oh, now I get it. And then you start seeing like, oh, and the good cops aren't doing anything about it. Oh, now I get it. So like, I get like the idea of the police is like, yes, it's going to be this good system of good people to protect us. But the reality is that in order for them to protect us, they had to be given power, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So it's now become a very corrupt system that we absolutely need to figure out how to fix. And so, you know, people have turned a blind eye to the war of the police against the people. So you're absolutely right about that. But you know, many people are they're out there. Like, look at Brian Ellison. He's calling for a war on cops. And it's like,
Hey.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, that's the words that we use. You know, that's just the world we live in a way.
So here's kind of the frustrating part for me is when you hear about charges being brought against cops, and you get a district attorney who will bring charges, they still get off by a jury. So not only is the system corrupt and are the cops themselves corrupt, but our people are so indoctrinated that they're not putting convictions on obvious cases. Like if you take the badge off of this guy, that's murder, but magic copper badge powers, and suddenly it's okay in court. Like I don't understand how people are so silly about this topic.
Right. And it's, you know, I did a live stream the other day about, it was more about racism, but it had to do with association and how our brains don't work. We're not like born into the belief like, oh, I believe my race is better than somebody else's, but we, through like education and association, that's kind of how our brains are manipulated. So we see cop, we see good guy. Think about how many movies you've seen where the cops are the good guy, right? But they're breaking all the rules. They're violating people's rights. They're breaking and entering. Oh, well, we don't have a warrant. It's okay. This is a bad guy. We're going to break in and we're going to do whatever we can. They go into the bad neighborhood and they rough up some guys who were just standing there. Hey, man, I wasn't doing anything. And they just kick their ass like, tell me who's dealing guns in my neighborhood.
Okay, look, Blue Bloods is one of my favorite shows, and they're 100% guilty about this. What the hell's wrong with me?
It's, yeah, and it's like, it makes good entertainment.
Through a different lens now. I'm like, I'm like counting down all the rights that they infringed on to get the information or to get the evidence or whatever. I'm like, you fucking assholes.
Right. And I do that too. I do that a lot. I do that too because, you know, one of the defining moments in my life that brought me to this movement was the brutal murder of Malice Green by Detroit police officers, right? Watching that, being there, being around for all of that was a huge push. At the same time, when Dexter's cutting up a bad dude and getting ready to drop him into the middle of the ocean, I'm happy as a pig in shit. So like, I get it, right? Part of it is like, we want to see bad guys get their due. And a lot of times we don't necessarily care how that happens in that moment. But as libertarians, understanding the philosophy of non-aggression and how important individual rights are, a lot of times that cultural kind of entertainment standard, that cultural standard that we kind of grew up with becomes challenged. And I think that's difficult for all of us at different times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's so much perspective to, you know, there's so many different ways to look at it. And it's just so fascinating. Like even military movies, look at that. Like, you know, look at those movies. And it's always like, it doesn't matter who's attacking who. It's always in the perspective of the good guys and how, you know, what they're doing is right. And, oh my God, we're in war is hell and we're in hell and we need to make it out. And it doesn't, you never like get the big picture of, okay, but what's the other side thinking? And which one of you guys is the aggressor?
Right.
Dre, you need to wear at least straps from now on because you are driving our chat fucking crazy.
I wonder if you're going to get more viewers tonight, though.
I mean, we're at a pretty high point for viewers this early on, so I'll take it. So I want to know a little bit. Okay, so this is totally a softball. I'm sorry, everyone. It's obvious which campaign I'm working for. I've been very very upfront about this. Tell us what's going on with the campaign right now, because I've actually been a little out of the loop for the last couple of weeks because my life is crazy right now.
Sure. So we actually we were running a contest for the last month to give away a year's worth of free pineapple pizza, and because nobody has the right to tell you what you can or can't put in your own body. And I may not agree with what you put on your pizza, but I will defend to the death your right to eat it. So we gave away a year's worth of pineapple pizza, and along with a bunch of other things, t-shirts, hats, and general campaign propaganda. And we did the drawing yesterday, and we announced the winners today. So those are all up on the Behrman 2020 Facebook page. And yeah, that was really awesome. So right now we're actually moving into, we're going to be shooting some more videos, and we're going to be really pushing these things, and we're going to do some really strong campaigning with that. So you know, we're working to reach potentially millions of viewers with these videos and with these messages, talking about everything from why taxation is theft, why we need to end the drug war, why we should have free healthcare. That's one that libertarians are like, what? Did you say free healthcare? Yes, but it's free as in freedom, not free as in zero cost of acquisition. So it's a really great plan that Democrats and Republicans love, because there's lower taxes and there's free healthcare, or at least extremely affordable healthcare. So that's really like it's been really great doing that with the campaign, because the reality is, like, you know, most of these guys they're just going after libertarians, and it's funny, they stick the polls up in like the libertarian delegate groups, and they say who's going to win, and Kim Ruff is always at the top, and Adam Kokesh, and the guys who are, but they're marketing towards the libertarians, and I'm like, fuck that, you guys, like, we're already all going to vote libertarian. We already know that. Let's figure out how to reach everybody who's not a libertarian.
Don't you think, though, that part of the reason they're marketing toward libertarians is because before they can even have the opportunity to sway the general public, it is libertarians that they have to convince. I mean,
right.
From a campaign standpoint, to me, that makes sense. Realistically, the first one of you to get 450 asses in chairs probably has a nomination.
Absolutely.
So I'm absolutely going to reach to libertarians.
So here's the problem I see with that. One, because we're libertarians, we're working with limited resources, so we have to do what we can. What I want to be able to do is I want to be able to walk into that convention in 2020 and say, look, I know, you know, you guys have all been brought here by these other libertarian candidates, and we've all been working very cooperatively. So it's not like we're slamming each other. It's not like I'm saying, hey, I'm better than Adam Kokesh, or I'm better than Kim or Arvin. Like, that's not how it's working. We're actually working together really well on that sort of stuff. But what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to say, look, we have this libertarian philosophy. We saw what Gary Johnson did. He said, I'm half Democrat and half Republican, so everybody should hate me. And it didn't work. So what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to walk in there and say, look, while you guys were sitting here pandering to libertarians, and I say that jokingly because I know that's not what they're doing. While you guys were, you know, messing around in the echo chamber, I've been out there in the real world trying to figure out how we can get real Democrats, real Republicans, and real undecided people to say, hey, this is a message I can really get behind, and it doesn't sound crazy, even though I've got a big fucking yellow hat on my head, and say, look, this is what we've been able to do with this campaign, so that they can say, well, actually, that's a really good strategy. Maybe we should vote for this guy. And if it doesn't, then hey, I'm going to keep running with this as an independent, and I'm going to show you that I can get more attention, more people, more votes, or at least more support on this campaign that I'm running, instead of just saying like, well, I got the libertarian nomination, I'm on all 50 ballots, vote for me with this message that I have that doesn't really speak to everybody, versus me who's running as an independent now and saying, hey, look, this is the message, and you should all stand for this, and you shouldn't just, it's not just about one candidate. It's not about the presidential race. It's about everybody. Because ultimately, imagine if we elected one libertarian president and everybody else was still Democrats and Republicans in Congress. Like, how much are you really going to be able to do? I mean, yeah, there's a lot we talk about we can do, but you're still, it's still saying that, hey, even though they let one get through, most of the public doesn't believe in what you're pushing because they still voted for Democrat and Republican in every other angle of government. So does that really mean that we're...
How do you respond though to the people that are going to say to you, and I would probably be one of those people. Like, I get it. I get kind of the idea behind, if you lose the nomination, running as an independent to continue to spread awareness and education. And I do see value in spreading awareness and education. But if you run as an independent, you now kind of become what libertarians get accused of all the time, the spoiler vote for libertarians. And that could do untold amounts of damage to ballot access in about 40 states. You're talking at least $200,000 in refighting for ballot access in some of those states if you become a spoiler there. So by doing that, aren't you then trampling all over the rights of libertarians in those states to continue to run for those small offices because now you've contributed to the elimination of their ballot access? So
there's two ways to look at that. One, it's being a little bit hypocritical because you're now saying, well, we're going to blame this other guy who has the absolute right to run for spoiling my campaign. The same as Trump could have said, or Hillary could have said, oh, if it weren't for those libertarians, we would have got the extra votes and we would have won. It was the libertarians' right to run, even though they spoiled her campaign, maybe. At the same time, if I can show that, hey, I'm running a more effective campaign as an independent than you did as a libertarian, maybe it's time to say we should start thinking about being a little bit more crazy and forget about electing the guy in the suit that looks like every other politician. And you know, yeah, maybe we need to figure out a different marketing scheme. We need to figure out how to stand out, and we don't need to water down the message, which is not what I'm doing, but we need to figure out a way that it speaks to these other people who want to be heard. Like, I hear so many people, especially from the left, they're like, oh, you're a libertarian, so you want everybody to starve in the streets. You want all the sick people to die. And it's like, no, actually, let me tell you how I'm going to solve all of your problems. And then they start listening and they're like, oh my God, that's actually really good. So it's a completely different strategy, and one that I'm hoping, if I don't get the election, I do run as an independent, that the Libertarian Party will see, hey, that fucking worked. Let's do that next time, whoever gets elected.
I love that answer. That was a good answer. That answer made me all kinds of happy. You have no idea.
Thanks.
I knew you had me, bro.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with the hat or the tie. I love them both.
Me too. The tie, actually, I think you could market as a campaign fundraiser.
It is on the site. It's kind of buried. We do need to, but we're working on something else that's really special. You'll notice I have these pins on. I have a cannabis leaf. I don't know if you can see that. I have an Arvin Vora pin, and I have Adam Kokesh's freedom pin. Oh yeah, there you go. You can see those a little bit better.
Awesome.
And so when I was in Florida, Adam came up to me and he was like, hey, I got this idea. Let's make a pact that no matter who wins the nomination, we'll support each other. And I know that's kind of contradictory to me running as an independent, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to be running as an independent to say, yeah, that guy sucks, vote for me. That's not how I'm planning on doing it. But it is, I will support this person and you know, whoever gets the nomination. So I'm still waiting on my Behrman Supreme pin. And I actually got my pins in, and those are going to be available pretty soon on the campaign site. And that's going to be another fundraiser that we're going to do. So
you still need a Ruff Phillips pin and a Behrman Supreme pin?
What's that?
You still need a Ruff Phillips pin and a Behrman Supreme pin.
Absolutely. Is there a rough pin? I haven't asked her yet, actually.
I'm pretty sure we can ask her. Kim's going to be on the show. We'll ask her. We'll make sure you get one.
You know, that's what I love about libertarians is even if they're running against each other, they will support each other because we have our eye on the prize. All of us, we know what is important. I will support you if you get the nomination. Same goes. Awesome. And there's not going to be any mudslinging in any of these debates. I can't. Oh, it warms my
so all of that's true until because let's be honest, all of the candidates that are in right now are radicals. All the ones that have any kind of presence.
Mhm.
The Prags have not put candidates in yet, and when they do, it's going to change. And-
ugly.
yeah.
You think that they will mudsling?
It depends. It depends on if they get a Moss to run or not. If they get a Moss to run, I expect it to be a clean campaign. If they can't get him to run for us, then they are going to put in someone else, and that person is probably going to be just as nasty as they were to Josh in the last chair cycle.
Look, when we say that, though, too, at the same time, there are a lot of libertarians who would be considered prags that I know, that I'm friends with, that hate that mudslinging crap just as much as the rest of us, and would never stoop to that.
Right. It's a very small group of people, but they get really loud when we start getting close to convention.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Amash being like, the conservative, like, the straight white guy in a suit with a tie, and do you think he'd really want to be on a debate stage with my hat?
No.
I don't see him doing it. I do not see him jumping and running on the LP ticket for the 2020 presidency. I just do not see it happening. Maybe in 2024, I could see it after a little bit more buildup, but right now it would just be too slammed in, I feel. I don't know.
Look, if he does, and like we've talked about this, Joe, you know how I feel about that. To me, it says that if he does this, what that communicates to me is that he did not think he could win his district again. And if you don't think you can even pull your own district, why the fuck do I want to vote for you for president? Okay. However, like if he wants to do that, come on. I would love to see you on. I will carry you water while you are on the debate stage with our other candidates. I will literally on my knees shine your shoes while you are on the debate stage with our other candidates. Whatever it takes, I think that would be awesome. I would love to see Justin Amash on a debate stage with Adam Kokesh and Dan Behrman and Kim Ruff. I would love that.
Me too.
Would be a good time.
Justin's over here trying to start a fight.
Well, Justin always wants
the Mises versus Sarwark mudslinging of 2018 will look tame in comparison to what will happen when they try and run Laura Ebke.
Look, guys.
Yes, that is going to get ugly.
Here's the thing. Whether we agree or disagree with policy, with any of the policies that Laura had,
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying that will get messy on social media.
It will.
Not a shot at Laura.
Here's the thing. Whether you agree with them or disagree with them, I watched Laura Ebke in Ohio stand up and say, hey, guys, this lifetime membership pin, this means something to me. And I'm not going anywhere, even after all the crap we've all thrown at her. I am not Bill Weld, and I am still here. So, yeah, what hurts me about that is, number one, good luck with that, because I don't see you convincing Laura to do it.
No,
number one.
I don't think so.
Like, there's no way. But if you had a magic wand and could do it, why would you want to do that to somebody who is here and still fighting and trying to grow? Why would you want to put them in a situation where they're going to become like a target practice dummy? Why would you do that? So, and it's the same people that are saying we need to reach more outside and grow the party by reaching to the right and the left, that the minute we bring somebody in from the right or the left, you want to put them in situations that you know are going to get them crucified.
I do want to point out that I don't say that. I think we need to reach into the independents, which I think, like, one of the reasons that I am really happy to be on Dan's campaign, even though I haven't been doing too much lately, and I'm really sorry, buddy. It's not reaching. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be that outreach to everybody, but to me, it's like we need to reach the people that don't vote, because that's the majority.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I think like those people are. I mean, there are definitely a class of people who don't vote who could be swayed to voting, but there are people who are just objectionably, I don't vote, and those people they're not going to be, or they just don't care enough, and they think it has no impact, and there's you can talk to them all day, and they're never going to do it.
Like Nick from Bread and Circuses, also check out Dan Behrman on Bread and Circuses podcast. It was a good episode. He doesn't vote because he doesn't pay enough attention, and he doesn't want his uninformed vote to matter. And I think that's a really good principled stand to take. Like, bitch, I don't pay enough attention to this shit. I'm not going to screw this up for somebody else.
Right. I don't want to take it's my turn to play Russian roulette. I don't want to take responsibility for that.
You're killing me, dude.
Oh,
For
my
real.
God.
So
You're not going to talk shrooms?
yeah, let's talk about shrooms. You have any?
I don't.
I'm
Do you
not
have
saying that I do, but I am saying that someone at some point may have given me some, and I still haven't consumed because I'm
Like,
really worried about how this is going to go.
Yeah, it's so I tried it. The first time I tried it, I was like in my early 20s and I was drinking a lot, so I don't even know if I felt the impact. And then I tried it again in my 30s, and it was a really interesting experience. And actually, where I am down here in Mexico, which for those of you who don't know, I'm running my campaign for Mexico because I can and fuck borders. I'm in this town that actually it's a really like there's a lot of kind of like hippie hipster kind of stuff going on here, and they have a lot of like ritual ceremonies where they do all kinds of psychedelics, which are, you know, they're mostly based on like, you know, cactus type stuff. I don't know too much of the details. I'm not an expert on psychedelics, but you know, there's
mescaline from peyote then.
Yeah, peyote's one of them. And then it's all psilocybin, right? The mushroom, it's all the same active ingredient that's in different. I think there's like a leaf or something that they have also.
It all affects you a little differently. I may have a little bit of past experience in this in my youth. So the intensity and the effects are different, but yeah, I think it's all the same main ingredient that gets
right.
done.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's like, I mean, it does so many things. Like we could talk about the health benefits, we could talk about the mental benefits, we could talk about just like personal development and improvement, or we could just talk about the fact that you are not government property, and nobody has the right to tell you what you can or can't put in your own body. And I may not agree with what drugs you consume, but I will defend to the death your right to consume them. I mean, that's really like on so many levels, that's what it comes down to. There's no right to say that we should be locking people up for this.
Yeah, I don't think you get to take any moral high ground by trying to make a case to a lot for removing another individual's right to consent. Like if you rape somebody, that's our issue with it, right? You didn't get consent. But when you bring the law in and say, I'm going to lock you in a cage because of this thing that you just chose to ingest, it's the same thing. You're eliminating somebody else's right to consent.
Right.
And it's the same violation.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you hear so many arguments. What about the kids? Okay, what about the kids? There's alcohol and that's all legal. Is it legal to like take a 3-year-old kid and be like, hey, I'm going to give you a bunch of alcohol? No, that's illegal. You'll go to jail for that. It's the same thing with drugs. If drugs were all legal and you give them to, like, it's not like they're going to be any easier to get. It's not like, you know, CVS is going to be like, hey, we're going to start carrying heroin now because it's legal. No, right. You know, there's stuff that you don't buy at CVS because they like, you know, they're worried about lawsuits. They're worried about protecting their consumers. Sure. They're worried about their reputation.
You know, the thing about the kids is there's already laws in place to protect them. You cannot put a child in danger. There's already numerous laws on the book about this. So, you know, all these alcoholics somehow evade law, you know, if they're not fucking up to the extent that the law gets involved. So I think that, you know, if you want to engage in your behavior and you have a babysitter or whatever, you do it responsibly. There's no, excuse me, there shouldn't be any mention in that.
Sure, it's false equivalency, right? Look, the issue isn't with whether or not somebody chooses to use drugs or ride a horse naked or whatever. The issue is child endangerment, child neglect. Child endangerment and child neglect are already crimes. Libertarians are not saying, let's eliminate all the child endangerment and child neglect statutes, right? Nobody's saying that. Whether you are under the influence of something or not, neglect is still neglect. Endangerment is still endangerment. Those things are the crime. So regardless of why a parent neglected their child, if they neglected their child, absolutely hold them accountable. Why isn't relevant? It's what they did that's relevant.
Right. Yeah, it's like all these, you know, laws that they have about, I mean, like if you look at the common law is, it's like, I mean, it's kind of like the 10 Commandments. It's just like a super basic set of ideas that says, hey, don't hurt people, don't take their stuff, right? Don't murder, don't rape, don't set fire to somebody's house, which was for some reason an extra special version of property damage as opposed to just actual property damage. Don't steal, these sorts of things. And these are really basic concepts. And if you think about it, this really covers every practical actual crime that there can be. Fraud is another one. We have all these laws on the books that are like, okay, we can't do money laundering. You can't do that. The idea of writing all these laws was to say like, okay, if this is what happened, we'll consider this murder instead of manslaughter or something like that. It wasn't to be able to say like, oh, well, here's another reason we can take money from you, or here's another thing we can lock you up in prison for. That wasn't the whole idea of this. The whole idea was to say like, okay, we don't know what's going to happen. The common law kind of, they say it's discovered. It kind of develops as, on a case by case basis. And instead of having to like wait for things to happen and then say, oh, well, that's a crime. You should have thought about that. For people who couldn't like think like, oh, well, this is going to hurt this guy. Is it a crime or not? Because there's no law that's written. The idea was like, we'll write some laws so that people know ahead of time, this is illegal. You can't do this. You can't defraud people. You can't sell property that you don't own. You can't, all these other things. And then it started turning into, you can't drive without a seatbelt. You can't make a right turn without using your blinker and all these other, and it just became into like an extortion racket and a slavery, human trafficking racket, getting people into these profits for prison and making money off of them and forcing them into slave labor and everything else. It's insane. That's not what the law was intended to do. And that's what they do with the shrooms. Sorry, I went on a tangent there, but
so I want to jump in real quick on the common law thing. Other than the great comment from Eric about allowing for dueling. So the reason that arson is an especially bad crime in common law is because of how many cities went up in fire back before we had fire departments and ways of fighting fire effectively. That's why arson is particularly outlawed in medieval times, because that's scary as shit.
And I bet also because so many people could be killed by it at one time,
Like if you knock someone's house down, that's bad. If you light their house on fire, the next 5 houses are probably going up with them at the very least. You could wipe out a whole town with a fire.
So here's another.
The whole town was wiped out.
London, Rome, like there's major events in history.
So here's what's interesting, like, because I hear all these, everybody, well, without taxes, what about the fire department? Because what happens if your house catches on fire? And then I moved down to Mexico and I'm like, why aren't there any fire trucks? Like, they have fire departments. They're always just there. No, you never see fire trucks driving around. Why is that? Oh, it's because all the buildings are made out of brick.
Well, let me tell you something that happened in the town I used to live in. Okay. So everybody's paying property taxes. It was a town where people liked to act like they were much more affluent than they were. And so because of that, it seemed like they welcomed an increase in taxes, right? Because it made people think that they have something. But
my property taxes are $10,000 per year.
They passed on top of the property taxes. They came in and said, now, if you want fire services, you're going to have to pay a monthly subscription on top of this. And that fire department literally would show up at fires and park and watch somebody's house burn down because they weren't paying the extra amount. Now, we're already being taxed to death for this shit, but now you're going to add this too. And where I live now, if I call, 3 different volunteer fire departments show up, and they are bad ass. These guys are putting out prairie fires and shit, like bad ass.
So this is a really important question, Dan. If elected, would you support dueling to resolve disputes? Would that be legal in the Behrman administration?
I mean, if it's consensual between both parties, why not? I mean, we have UFC fighting, we have boxing, we have all these like brutal sports, which like if you go long and hard enough, you can. That's what she said. You can kill somebody, and that's legal, and it's consensual by both parties. Why there was actually that woman who unfortunately she got her skull crushed in. I know that's a whole different topic because she was fighting a transgender woman or man. I don't know. I guess woman. And that's extremely unfortunate, but they were both there consensually. They knew that they were fighting. Nobody knows how far those things are ever going to go. Dueling, well, you know the outcome if you agree to it. Hey, there's a possibility you're going to get a shot to the chest and you're going to die, or to your spinal cord and you're going to be rolling around in a wheelchair for the rest of your life.
Are you saying shot to the heart and you're to blame?
You're to blame. You give dueling a bad name.
Bad name. Everyone, don't forget to donate to Freedom Friday to hear me sing Backstreet Boys. That's a preview.
Yes, I'm so excited for Freedom Friday, you guys. There's going to be 4 local comedians kicking off the night, and then we will be carrying.
Well, 3 good ones in Caleb.
Got to get those digs in on Caleb while he's not here to defend himself.
Yes. But yeah,
I cannot wait to see video and live streams from this event. Because I can't be there. It is going to be, you guys, this is going to be really, really cool. Like, seriously.
You should come to Omaha, Dan, on the 5th of July and come hang out with us. We can't pay you anything, but you can still come hang out with us.
Wait, you're not trying to trick me into getting on stage and doing karaoke, right?
I mean, we're not going to tell you no. 3 drinks and we're ready to go, right?
I thought I was the only libertarian that didn't do karaoke.
No, I refuse. You can't get me that drunk.
I don't violate the nap that way.
Yeah, right.
I'm doing you all a favor, is what I'm doing here. I sing in the shower and the car when I'm alone. That's it. So yeah,
I was trying to practice on Sunday because the girls weren't here and I felt a little safer. But that meant turning my TV, like I was streaming it to my TV so I could get enough volume to practice, which did mean that Elfie had to hear it.
Oh, give us a preview. Come on.
No.
Please.
So the thing is, I was practicing with like worship music because that's what I know how to sing the most. And she was like, I really like this. And then I tried to do a version of Amazing Grace, and she's like, turn that off right now. Apparently that song triggers the shit out of her.
Well, you're doing a great job, so there's that. But Dan, where are you in Mexico? Because John and I are kicking around taking a trip down there next month.
I'm like about 2 hours south of Cancun. So it's pretty nice down here. It's actually really hot. I'm sweating my ass off. You can I'm outside on the roof. You can't see because it's dark.
You must be dying because the last time I was in Mexico, even in my room, the moisture took over and the AC was on.
I'm like, and I was at the beach the other day, and I actually I don't know what I was smoking before I went to the beach, but I ended up putting sunscreen on my face and my arms, and then I took my shirt off, and so now I'm like all sunburned, like a reverse farmer's tan.
Farmer's tan, yep.
Yeah. Awesome.
So
you got white arms.
Yeah, and I'm just and my face is like super red right now. I can tell because it's just hot out here, and I've been drinking, and but I love it down here. So
Eric is chiming in again. He says, "Has Funny Hat Guy, which I guess is your new nickname, has Funny Hat Guy ever tried DMT and karaoke?" That's how you got to do it.
Oh.
At the same time, no. Individually, I can neither confirm nor deny the allegations.
Allegedly.
What city is that in Mexico?
It's Tulum. It's kind of a small town.
Tulum.
It's really interesting. It's there's kind of like a small old town, but then there's a new development where they have apparently these New Yorkers. This is a story I don't know how accurate this is, but basically a bunch of New Yorkers came down here and said, hey, this is really nice. And they started buying up all the property and putting fancy hotels, but they're all still really small, boutique hotels. And I've stayed at a couple of them. They're really nice. And you can actually I ride my bike down the main street between the, so there's the beach and then the hotels and then a road and then some restaurants on the other side of the road. So I ride my bike down there and I stop at any of the little hotels, which are usually also beach clubs. And you just go out there and hang out, and it's really nice. The beaches are usually really nice, and the people are awesome, and it's a good time.
Have the Mexicans down there tried to build a wall around you guys to keep you out?
No, but I have seen some really interesting developments. So this place where I live, because everyone always asks about the roads, it's a development, and you get to see from the ground up of it's kind of like a centrally planned city, which I know for the most part people hate, but it's not like government central planning. It's like capitalist central planning. And so there are roads here, And there are so many roads that like a lot of them don't even take you anywhere. Like they're just like, they haven't even built any homes or condos or hotels or anything next to them, but they built roads without government. So it's really awesome to see. And it's like all the infrastructure's in there. We actually have like really, really fast fiber internet down here, even though we're like in the middle of the jungle. It's awesome.
So I read something that was talking about estimates of between 1 and 2 million Americans living illegally, undocumented as illegal aliens in Mexico. So I'm wondering, how often do you run into another American national when you're out and about and gallivanting around Mexico?
So I run into them a lot. And of course, like where I am, it's really close to a lot of tourism. Cancun obviously has a lot of tourism, even though when I was living in Cancun, I was kind of away. I was like more inland, so away from all that stuff. But every once in a while, you still run into Americans. And there's a huge expat community. There are a lot of people here. It's interesting to see. I've actually been like, I kind of like wanted to be able to say like, hey, I'm an illegal immigrant, just to kind of like, laugh back at Americans and say like, it's not really a big fucking deal. But the truth is, the way Mexico works is anytime you enter the country, you automatically get anytime you enter the country by plane, you get a little visa, a little piece of paper, which is good for 6 months. And I haven't been here for 6 months at a time in the past two years that I've lived here, to be able for that thing to void. But at the same time, I have lost it. And I know that when you go back to the airport and you say, I want to leave the country, and they're like, do you have your papers? And you say, no, oh my God, I don't have it. All they do is say, okay, well, you have to go to this office over here and you have to pay $30 and get a new one. That's really all it is. So it's really interesting to see what their immigration policy is. Of course, there's not that hysteria that like, oh my God, the Americans are sending all their drunk tourists and they're gonna rape our women, and even though that shit happens, they don't turn it into a propaganda thing. So they realize they got bigger issues to worry about.
And I heard that number was much, much smaller, Erin. I heard it was more like 30,000 that have let their papers lapse or whatever that live down there.
So the article I'm finding is saying that every number is an estimate because there's really no way to track that. But they're basing it on a lot of different things, like how many Americans took flights going in and not coming back, how many took trains going in and not coming back, how many have stopped registering their cars here as part of it. So there's a bunch of stuff, but I've heard estimates all over the place.
Well, I mean, I was living in the US and I stopped registering my cars for 10 years. So, and I was driving around without license plates or driver's license for 10 years up there. So, I'm part of the reason that those statistics are probably skewed a little bit.
Dan's just flying by the seat of his pants wherever he goes.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, none of this shit makes sense. There's actually so the way Mexico works is actually dozens of times because I used to live in McAllen right on the border. You can walk across the border and it's just like there's you can walk right into Mexico and they don't check anything. They nothing, right? Unless you're bringing big suitcases, then they make you press this button and then the light turns green or red, like randomly, kind of like that iPad app that the TSA had that they spent $1 million on. So, and then they'll inspect your luggage, but that's really it. They don't do paperwork. They don't do visas or anything. And you can actually walk across the border and take a flight from there. And you don't need a passport. I mean, the only reason I use my passport there is because they just need some ID. But you're considered like already legally in Mexico at that point, and you did absolutely nothing. So right at the border, and Tijuana used to be that way, but they started actually, and I hear they were going to charge a $10 tax just to walk across. But they're doing the paperwork now. McAllen, the last time I went through there was, no paperwork at all. So I actually came into Mexico plenty of times. And that was one of the reasons why I found out that I had no paperwork coming in, but then I flew out of Cancun and they were like, where's your paperwork? And it's like, and it was even funny to see that, when I explained to them, they didn't give me any papers because I walked across the border in McAllen, and the immigration people are like, well, they should have given you papers in McAllen. And I'm like, well, they don't. And they're like, well, they should have. And I'm like, no, they shouldn't, because that's not their policy. That's not what they do. And like, it's the same thing. These people they're just like American cops. They're taught procedure. They don't know the law. They don't know the bigger picture. All they know is, look, all I know is I got to give you a paper and you can't get past here without a paper. And that's bureaucracy.
Something.
What's that?
I need to stamp something.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a stamp. I have to use it.
So we have to ask you this question. This is a requirement for anyone who comes on our show who is running for anything. What are your thoughts on nuclear power?
On what kind of power?
Nuclear.
Justin is hiring me out. I'm just saying it.
I just wanted to make sure you said nuclear because I wasn't quite sure if you said nuclear or nuclear.
I mean, does it matter? I can't talk right. Whichever one makes you feel all warm and fuzzy, I guess.
Yeah. It's new and it's clear. It's clean energy because it's clear, right? Yeah, it's like like what's that new stuff? Like they did like MLM marketing with it. It was like new something NU. It's nuclear. It's anti-zitcrete energy. I don't know. Sorry, I've had too much to drink. Okay, so nuclear energy. There's actually this kind of nuclear energy called thorium, which it's still kind of under development or in research, but it's very promising. It's very interesting. Basically, the thing behind it is that it's just as good as nuclear energy, just as powerful. But the way that it reacts makes it kind of it takes away all the risk of a nuclear meltdown. So that's actually like something we should be looking into. Now, the downside to it is with uranium-based nuclear energy, there's a byproduct of plutonium, which is what they use to make nuclear warheads, which like we have how many 5,000 nuclear warheads in this country, and we need more. We like 5,000 is not enough. We just need more. Like we need to have like 100 million of them probably before like we'll be happy, right?
Oh, so, please, don't you want your own personal tactical nuke?
I mean, 320 million nukes. We need that because I don't feel safe without one if my neighbor has one.
A little tiny baby one.
So, but that's part of the byproduct. So to anybody who's like, I'm going to build a power plant. Well, let's do nuclear. Okay, well, let's use uranium because we'll be able to sell our nuclear waste to the U.S. government at some ridiculously high prices so they can build more nukes. So that's kind of like, it's kind of a free market issue because like, thorium doesn't have that. So that's like, okay, well, here's a flaw in the free market. How do we fix this problem? So it's an interesting issue, but at the same time, it's a much better way to make power. And, I guess at the same time, probably nobody would be buying the plutonium if it weren't for the government who had unlimited resources because they have this book of blank checks that just never ends because it comes right out of our pockets.
Mm-hmm. I mean, another government might, but
yeah. But I think we've got enough to and you can't shoot down a nuke with a nuke, right?
Look, if 4 or 5 of them have gone off, does it really matter anymore to anybody?
Yeah.
Like, what else on anyway?
Now I'm starting to theorize what would happen if you put a nuclear warhead on a Patriot missile and intercepted a nuke with it.
I mean, I guess there would be a shit ton of fallout.
Yeah. Nuclear winter is what would happen.
Anyway, so it's about time to wrap up here. We're at 54 minutes. And so tonight, you get the freebie because I'm going to kick everyone out of here, and then we're all going to come back in about 5 minutes and start the post show. Tonight's the freebie. You get it live on the D&D page. Next week, you either need to be subscribed to our Anchor, our upcoming Subscribe Star, or when the Launchpad Media unleashes their subscription service, you need to be subscribed there, and we will give you access to the Facebook group that our podcast post show will be streaming to, and then it will also be available on the Launchpad Media behind their subscription service. So you got like a minute, Dan. Make your pitch, your final pitch here before I send us out of here.
I can't pitch because I don't play baseball or any other kind of sports ball. But go to Behrman2020.com, sign up for our mailing list, make a donation, check out the platform. It's really awesome stuff. If you want to volunteer, send me an email. And actually, as a matter of fact, we have a bunch of these, which are like these propaganda brochures that we've been giving out all over the country. We've been sending out like millions of them. Well, not millions yet, but we're on our way. I guess that's too close. You can't see it. But it's basically like, how are we going to build the roads? And it's like, well, actually, here's a good way that we can build the roads without taxes. So it's a really great intro to people who are of the belief that we need taxes. And we're getting these out there to as many people. There you go. To as many people as we possibly can. We want to get them out to everybody. And we're running huge campaigns to get videos in front of people so that they can start to understand this idea that less government is better, less taxes is better. We need to control our own money and decide how we want to build our own society and not let some stupid bureaucrats who are known as cheaters and liars and thieves to do that for us. So check out Behrman2020.com and make a donation to help the effort. And taxation is theft, and we are not government property.
Goddamn right. Thank you, Dan.
All right. So if you're watching this on a watch party, you're going to need to come to facebook.com/DND Liberty because we will not be sharing this one. You just got to come hang out with us on there. For Dan Behrman, Dre, and Erin, come back and watch the post show. Bye, everyone.